What's up everybody, I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2020 Cadillac CT5-V. So the V version here is a little more watered down than they used to be in the past. So the V isn't the crazy 650 horsepower thing like it used to be. Now the V is applied like the AMG badge is and the M badge, where they have a mid-grade model and then the crazy one. This is the mid-grade one here, and so the top one's going to be called the V Blackwing. So this interior isn't quite as racy as you might be expecting for a V, but it is still a very nice interior. The CT5 here, they really improved a lot of the things to modernize this. It has all the newest Cadillac switchgear and everything, and I think it's a pretty nice interior for the luxury compact sedan segment.
Yeah, it is really nice. I like how there's all these different trims here. There's the carbon fiber with the red stitching inside, which I think is really cool. Then you have your white leather and your black leather. So I think it all looks really cohesive.
Yeah, it's a really cool combo. And this, you can see it first off here on the seats, how you have, like the whitish cream color with the black and the red stitching. And that's an option. You can get just normal black seats or normal, tan seats. There's several different colors to choose from. This duo tone thing is about a $1,500 option. I think it's worth it because it kind of nicely dresses up this interior. Kind of reminds me of like a tuxedo or something.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. Some cars that do this, I don't think they look very nice, but this one, I think they did a really good job of putting it together.
Yeah, and these seats are really comfortable too. So, they have all the power adjustments. You have adjustable lumbar and adjustable side bolsters, which is really nice to have. And it even has a lumbar massage, which is this button, which unfortunately isn't labeled. So there's just a random little black button here on the side of the seat, and you press it and then you start feeling that effect. But we were a little bit confused the first time we got in this, because she's like, I think my seat's doing the massage thing, and I'm like, I don't know, I can't find a button for it. And then I finally found the button, but it's not labeled, so you kind of have to play a guessing game when you first get in this.
Yeah, but they are really nice. And one cool thing is that the headrests are so pillow-like, so soft. So if you're on a long road trip or anything like that, it is very nice to be able to put your head back there. It's nice and cushy for sure.
Yeah, and so the seats are heated and cooled, which is a nice feature you do get here, and that is part of, I think, a climate package, but this one has a premium package and climate package. So this one, as tested, is about $56,000, and so this is also the rear-wheel drive one. You can get all-wheel drive with these now and stuff like that. But anyway, so the seats are really comfortable, and I do have to add to a quick little comparison. We just had the Genesis G70 a couple of weeks ago, and that is a competitor to this car, and I think these seats are more soft and comfortable than the seats in the G70 one.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah, and so yeah, really a well done job there. The steering wheel is also fantastic here in the CT5-V. It has a really nice 9-3 grip. It has a little bit of a dish to the wheel, so your lower fingers are pushed out a little bit more if I'm nitpicking, but it still is a really great grip. Nice little 10-2 notches, a nice round wheel. You do have some plastic and rubbery buttons here on it that don't feel quite as expensive as some of the competitors, but you do have this row of metal buttons here on both sides, including a V button, which will do a quick driving mode, which is personalized to all your favorite settings. That's cool to have that. You also have these magnesium shift paddles still, which is something that you had back with the CTS-V and whatnot, and they look really cool and they're nicely placed, and so that's great. The gauges are also really nice here in the CT5, but one thing, most of the competitors give you digital gauges, and that is not even an option here in the CT5 at all. So you're forced to have analog gauges. I don't mind analog gauges still, though. I don't think the digital stuff's a must-have. It just kind of dresses up the interior a little bit, makes it feel higher tech. But they're still great gauges. And you do have a nice large digital portion there in the middle, which still gives you a digital speed readout. And you also have a bunch of different menus you can scroll through here for your basic, tire pressures and all those types of things. Your audio, navigation, all that type of stuff. And there's the V menu here, which can show you a G meter, timers for laps and stuff, all your temperatures, and even an E-diff coupling gauge there, which is pretty sweet. I also like having the tire temperatures there. That's something you often don't get in other vehicles. That's kind of cool. Whenever you're really taking those corners hard, you'll know whether you have the tires warmed up or not. But so that's really cool, and so I love the gauges here. It's also paired up with this head-up display, which is another option this one does have, but that's great. You can have that display a tach up there, or just the speed limit and your speed and a couple other things there. But really well done. It's nice and bright and large. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here though. Right up top, you have this 10-inch touchscreen, which is nice and big. It kind of makes a statement because some of the other vehicles in the segment still kind of have a little bit of a smaller screen, and this one's nice and big.
Yeah, I like it. It's set back just a tad, but not too far that you feel like it's far away from you, but it is nicely just set right in there, and it's really easy to use.
Yeah, and it's a little bit better integrated than some of the ones like Audi has theirs, where it's just like right on top of the dashboard, it kind of sticks up. This is actually kind of integrated in there, so it's not blocking your vision or anything like that, but it still is high enough up that you're not looking down at it, and so I like it. And so this uses the same basic infotainment system that you have with all the other GM models, but it's really easy to navigate through. It has smartphone integration, which is great, so you have your CarPlay and Android Auto and all that, and it's kind of cool. So this does have volume and tune knobs. Interestingly, they're right next to each other. I don't mind it though, personally. I'm just glad there's a tune knob. That's something that's just an extra bonus. It is unfortunate though, whenever you do use that tune knob, that it actually brings up this whole sub menu of like, here's your radio stations, and then you have to select it, and then it goes back to the main audio screen. So it's an extra step that I don't think they needed to add, but other than that though, I really like the way this is set up. And if you don't like the touchscreen, you still have this controller down here, which has a redundant volume knob. So you have another one down here if you don't want to reach up to the screen. You have another volume knob and this little controller here, so you can control it like all the German stuff if you still want to do that, and a few little button shortcuts here around the shifter area. And that also, this knob just is nice and metal, and has a really nice texture to it. And so great they give you the option. I think it's great to give people whatever options they want as far as how they want to control that, because I know that a lot of people get annoyed with fingerprints and stuff like that. So totally understand that, and so it's nice you have the controller. Coming down beyond the screen here, you have 2 rows of buttons here. I guess it's kind of levers here for your climate controls, and those have a nice metal coating to them and are nice to use. And then you have these plastic buttons underneath there, but it's all nicely arranged, not too overwhelming or anything. And I'm glad that there are physical buttons, because I know a lot of people were annoyed with the capacitive touch buttons you had in the CTS in the past, and you weren't sure if you were actually touching it or not. Yeah. And so with this, you have no mistake there. You know exactly what you're doing, and so that's good. And then a couple of buttons for drive mode and stuff here in front of the shifter, and that's basically it. So they kind of minimize the buttons. There's not too many, just the basic stuff you need, and I think they did a pretty good job with this whole center area. Also, this screen is paired up with this Bose Performance Series stereo system. It's 15 speakers. It is an optional upgrade. It's not standard, but well worth the option to upgrade to that, because it's obviously it's part of a package as well, so it's not a standalone option, so you are going to have to get a bunch of other stuff that you might honestly want anyway. So it shouldn't be a big upgrade, but it is well worth whatever you have to pay extra for, because it is so clear and crisp. These Performance Series Bose systems, especially in the GM models and in the Mazda models, they've been doing some really fantastic stereos, and I just did the Bose stereo in the new Corvette, which also was fantastic with the way that it sounded. Same nice metal speaker grills and that and stuff, and this has one extra speaker over the Corvette, but it sounds just as good. I think it is really an impressive sounding stereo, and yeah, they just do such a good job. So if you enjoy a good stereo experience, I haven't sampled all the others, but I will say this sounds better than the G70 that we were in a couple weeks ago as well. So just another nice little perk here of the CT5. As far as store space here in the CT5, it's average for this type of vehicle, but it's not fantastic, but it's not too bad either. So first off, in the doors here, you have a little pocket with a bottle holder. It's not massive, but it does work, and so nice to have that. In the center here, you have a little cutout for the key, and then this wireless charging pad, which is nice, but they're just not very deep. They're really shallow, and I don't know, maybe the transmission's right underneath there. I don't know, but I just wish there was a little bit more depth to that. But this whole area is pretty shallow.
Underneath that wireless charging pad, you do have 2 cup holders here that does have a door you can close if you don't want to use them. But I do have to say that they do seem kind of shallow, which is kind of weird, but they do fit bigger drinks, so at least that's good, but they do feel shallow to me. I don't know why. Yeah,
it's kind of strange. Again, maybe there's just a space limitation and there's the transmission or something in the way, but yeah, we're able to fit a Sonic cup, that's pretty large in there, and it fit just fine. but just, yeah, I guess if you have something that tips over easily, these might not be the best or something. I don't know. But anyway, they seem to fit, normal cups still just fine. And then coming back, you do have this center armrest, which has some leather or vinyl type material on it. It feels okay. It's just that it's very firm. Now, some of the Germans do this kind of thing as well, but even like your C-Class, this is much softer.
Oh, yeah, it is for sure.
So this is not very comfortable for resting your elbow on for long distances. And I actually was resting my elbow there on one little longer drive, and it got a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, with the stitching too. The stitching is nice, but if you're putting your elbow like right on the edge there, it might bother your elbow a little bit.
Yeah, so not the best, but it is nice and large, so there's that going for it. Also in this area, you'll see another little pocket here, which in other Cadillacs, this is where the wireless charging pad is, but instead it's up here in this one. But it's a nice little pocket to store your phone. I love this design. So honestly, that's where I would keep my phone, because it's just a nice little snug space there. But anyway, when you open this area up, you're going to see that you have a pretty decent amount of space here. You also see a USB jack, USB-C jack, a power outlet, and an SD card slot. So great to have all that in there.
Except for the passenger, I cannot see anything that is going in and out of there. It's just really annoying because as a passenger, you put stuff in there, and not being able to see anything that's in there is kind of annoying.
Yeah, and like the Germans have found a solution with this, like the C-Class, it splits in the middle. The BMW, I believe, that splits in the middle as well. I think maybe even the Audi does. So it seems like that's what everyone else is doing. The Genesis doesn't, but I think the Genesis just has a hinge in the back, so you can still see in there as a passenger. But so not a great design there, but I guess this is a little more driver focused or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's another interesting thing to note there. Also, you do have a little bit more of that leather padding here by your knee area, but it is also similarly firm. It has maybe a little more give here, but it's not super comfortable. I'm glad that it's padded, because I think like BMW honestly doesn't even pad this area still, which is insane. I don't think Audi does either, honestly. But so it's nice you have a little bit of padding there, but I still wish that was a little bit more plush, because that's supposed to be padding your knee. Put some foam in there or something to actually make it comfortable to rest your knee on, instead of just dressing it up a little bit. But I'm glad they at least have a little bit there. But anyway, moving on to the back seat here in the CT5. This is the area where it's really the most competitive with all of the other vehicles out there in this segment, because the way they did the CT5, it's a little bit longer and a little bit wider than all the other competitors. And so it's kind of bridging two segments. It isn't big enough to be considered a mid-size sedan, but it's larger than all the other compact sedans. So anyway, I'm 5'9", I'm sitting behind myself. I have about 4 inches of legroom to spare. And now, like for example, your C-Class, it's not it's not much tighter than that. Maybe it's 1 inch less. So we're not talking about massive differences here, but it is a good amount of space back there. And compared with the Genesis G70 we just had, this is much more spacious than that. And whenever I was driving around, we even had my one friend who was 6'1" sitting in the back. He fit just fine. So really good job on space there. Even though headroom, there's a little bit of a slope, and so even me being 5'9", I only have an inch or two of headroom to spare, but he was able to fit back there just fine. So as long as you don't have a super tall torso, I guess you'll be okay with that. You also have a fold down center armrest with 2 cup holders built into it. There's also little pockets there in the door, and also when you look forward here, you will see dedicated air vents, as well as another power outlet and a USB-C jack. No actual normal USB jacks back there, but nice to have those. And so I mean, as far as the back seat goes here, I think that is going to be one of the biggest perks of the CT5. And if you do really value that extra inch or two of legroom in the back there, I think the CT5 is going to be a really good winner. And also, it's worth noting, these front seats slide really far back. Like, it's bizarre how far back they go. So if you are a very tall driver, the Cadillac seat goes further back than I think any other seat that I've been in, honestly, in a
or
sedan.
even passenger, for that matter.
Yeah, they both go back super far. So definitely for those of you who are tall, check out the Cadillac. You might have a little bit more space than some of the others. But anyways, a great back seat too. And then trunk space here in the CT5 is pretty good. Now, this is an area where actually, even though you have the larger size of the CT5, they focus on back seat space, not trunk space. So like a BMW 3 Series will actually have a little bit of a bigger trunk than what you have here in the CT5. I believe the C-Class is around the same size. It's a little bit of a taller trunk. This is a little bit of a more narrow opening than what you get in some of the German competitors, but it is a larger trunk than what you get in the Genesis G70 again. So the G70 is just like the smallest of the bunch, but it is also the value leader. That's like 10 grand cheaper, and you get all the same stuff you get here in this. So, you know, that's just, if you want to save some money, get the Genesis, as long as you don't mind the smaller dimensions. But if you do want the extra space, I think this is still going to be, you know, a value leader as far as, you know, all the other luxury sports sedans in this segment. Overall, I think they did it just right, you know, because all the other competitors in this segment, you know, they don't have crazy racy seats or any kind of, you know, they're not overly aggressive, and this isn't either. This is comfortable, it's a great daily driver, but then it also, you know, has the performance and stuff, which you can go watch. I will link above. The driving review here for the CT5-V is a really fun car to drive as well, and so it's great having a nice interior with, you know, massaging seats and all the luxuries you want, and also having a great driving experience. It's really got everything in the CT5-V, and they did a great job with it. But yes, that's all our thoughts here on the CT5-V. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.